Hey, good morning, Jacques. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. I'm talking to Garth Brooks.
Entering his second year as the LSU head football coach.
It was the only way I could get a foot in the door.
Joined by the icon, Kim Mulkey. Hey, Coach, great to see you.
Well, our guest today, without a doubt, is an LSU baseball great who's been part of some major things throughout his career, won a national championship. Can you believe it? 25 years ago, Ryan Theriot slid home to beat Stanford. Ryan, thanks for coming down, man.
Appreciate you having me, Jacques.
Good to see you. And, of course, in the major leagues, part of 2 world championships as well, one with the Cardinals, one with the Giants. Yep. And now you play a juvenile delinquent on Friday.
I do. Oh, man.
With Matt Moscona.
Yeah, don't remind me.
I caught your very eloquent goodbye to Blue Bayou Water Park on Friday. That was something.
My heart's hurt. It's unbelievable. Don't get me started. I'm going to turn red and get pissed off again. My wife and my business partner and myself have this text message, and she texted yesterday. She says, I can't believe Blue Bayou's closed because our new office is across the interstate, literally, from Blue Bayou. So out of my window, I can look at the slides. It's wonderful. Well, she was kind of like picking on me because she didn't know that I had written the letter on it, and I did not take that very kindly. That just opened up a whole nother can of worms.
Man, when I was in high school, it was like a paradise destination. You jump in the car from Lafayette, drive over the Henderson, the basin and everything, go to Blue Bayou for a day.
It still is. I don't know why the thing's closed. It's wonderful.
So you're across one of your former teammates, Victor Brumfield. He used to work there at Superior Office Products.
Right next to Superior.
So that's where you are?
Yep, right next door to Superior, yep. So we bought that building, last year, and so, yeah, we're right there, pretty convenient, especially if you love Blue Bayou. It's very convenient.
Well, yeah, last year I think I drove by on a Sunday, and I thought also only like a couple of the rides were functional. It was working at a very low level, and so we'll have to move forward without it. Can you believe it's been 25 years?
No, I can't. And when we did the reunion and the celebration 25th year deal for the championship a couple weeks ago, and what an awesome time to see all those guys. And we have a group text, so we're always talking and communicating, and I mean it's everybody from Turtle Thomas all the way down. So I feel like I've been talking to these guys, but you hadn't laid eyes on them. So it was really cool. The folks that were out of town that came in for it, Brad Hops of the world, and Ryan Jorgensen, who hadn't seen in a while. Those guys look great, and so man, it was such a cool, special thing. It seems like it was yesterday.
I was looking at that team. You started 7-5 in February.
Yeah, I think we got swept by Houston at home. So it does happen. You can lose baseball games and still win.
Well, I talk about peaking at the right time, right? So you go 13-0 in the postseason, the SEC tournament, the regional, the super regional. Yeah. Omaha never lost.
Yeah, we got hot at the end, and I always say that, especially in college, but also in the big leagues. I mean that's how it works. It's never the best team that wins in the end. In 2011, when we won in the major leagues, we kind of backed our way into the playoffs. We had to sweep Houston at home, and Cincinnati had to get swept at home in order for us to make the playoffs when I was in St. Louis. And as a sports guy, I mean, that's a very tall task.
Skip would call that great baseball fortune.
And it ended up happening, and we ended up winning the World Series. And so it's just the team that's hot. And you're right. That year in 2000, man, we got hot at the right time, put it all together, and we beat a lot of first-rounders and a lot of great players.
You were part of a moment like the Billy Cannon run, the earthquake game, Hodson to Fuller, that's been replayed countless amounts of times. You scoring from second base on the Brad Cressy base knock to beat Stanford. A lot of current players today, when they talk about big moments, they say, I blacked out, or I don't really remember what happened exactly. What are your memories of scoring that run?
I'd struggled a little bit at the plate that game, but Stanford had some really good arms. Was able to get on base with just a little stupid infield single CNI thing that got through the infield, and Bill Daly, our third base coach, and I were and still remain very close friends, and so we were kind of making eye contact as I'd gotten to second base in scoring position. I think it was just a foregone conclusion that I was going to go no matter what, if there was a base hit somewhere, and he didn't even send me or hold me up. And, one of the great things that Coach Bertman does is he allows us or gives us the ability to relive all the moments, the special moments of the teams in the past. And so I'd seen Armando Rios slide across home plate and fire his helmet in the stands a million times. And honestly, that was just – that wasn't premeditated. It wasn't something I thought about. It was just raw emotion, and I'd already seen it. And I just knew Brad was going to come through. Man, it was an amazing moment. I don't remember a whole lot. Moscona will tell you I'm the worst at that. But I remember that like it was yesterday, and the weather and all that stuff.
It was chilly?
It was kind of it was an overcast, rainy kind of, not beautiful day. Yeah. But still was a beautiful day.
Yeah, that's the thing about going to Omaha. Even in June, sometimes you see people wearing long sleeve shirts and stuff like that. It can be the way. A lot of times it's perfect.
Oh, right.
And some people say, "Wow, it must be great to live here." We'll come back in December and January. You might.
That's right.
Might change your mind a little bit.
Or the softball size hail that comes down over there last year. Yeah.
The old Rosenblatt, right? I mean, we always have a tendency, whether we're talking about our music or our movies, to say it ain't like it used to be.
Right.
But the old Rosenblatt with the zoo over the right field wall, the neighborhoods around where people were parking in people's yards. The new thing is beautiful. It's amazing. It's more corporate. Sure. But what do you remember about the old Rosenblatt playing there?
Very similar to Alec Box Stadium from a history and a kind of aura standpoint. I was very fortunate, have been very fortunate in my career to play in some stadiums like that. Wrigley Field was similar, where it's almost like, the folks that walk these halls, and being a fan of the game. I mean, I watched, Clemens and Pete Incaviglia and all these guys, Big Ben throwing, so being in that stadium, you start to relive all those memories. I don't hate the new stuff. I know you have to have it and you have to do it. But I do have a soft spot in my heart for the Fenway Parks of the world that, say, what, this is what we're going to do. I mean, the new Yankee Stadium's gorgeous, and it looks just like the old one. But Babe Ruth didn't walk in those halls,
Yeah, no doubt about it. The guys on that team as well. Does Wally Pontiff ever cross your mind?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time, yeah. And me and Big Wally talk very, very often. He is a wonderful man, has not missed my birthday or John and I's anniversary or a holiday Merry Christmas, Happy Easter text ever, I don't think. And just a super intentional human and a man that I've grown to love. And so Wally's memory is lifted up through friends and family for sure.
Yeah. I just started working at Channel 9. I think, I started in March of 2001, which was your last team, Skip Bertman's last team. But there are certain things that happened, like right when I started working here, that you always remember. 9/11, certainly. Katrina down the line. And I just always remember, I think it was Fletcher Mackel from New Orleans who called me. 2002, the summer, Wally Pontiff passed away in his sleep. Yeah. That was, without a doubt, one of the more shocking phone calls I've ever received before.
Yeah, no, I think it was like that for all of us. Wally was a hell of a ball player. I think everybody knows that. All you have to do is Google search some things that he's done. But what not a lot of people know is the type of human that he was, and very caring, somebody that was a wonderful teammate, and from a legacy standpoint, like I said, the baseball stuff's obvious, but I remember the character piece, and it was special.
Yeah, it was really cool to see Nick carry that on.
Sure.
In 2009 when they won the title again, to have a Pontiff on the team when they celebrated, that was very special.
No, it definitely was. Yep.
Yeah. Johnny Thibodeau, another guy, died in a car accident, right?
Yeah, Johnny. Oh man, I just really cherish my time with Johnny. He was an older player when I was there and had been at LSU for a while. Came in with just some superstar talent when he was a freshman, and so a guy that could play all over the field, any position. Most impressive batting practice of anyone on the team. Such a tragedy for sure. I mean, Johnny was a special talent.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to bring things down. I'm just talking about life, And then Cedric Harris, your teammate, his wife Marie Ferdinand, wonderful basketball player at LSU, the things they've dealt with as well, right? And just keep grinding forward. I don't know how she puts out that energy every day that she does.
They have truly turned, just a nightmare into something positive. And Cedric and Marie, myself and my family have grown extremely close over the years. Obviously we play in together and win a championship, and that's a special bond. But of all the players, I probably talked to Cedric the most. They never missed a beat. It was truly amazing. And you try to put yourself in their shoes. I mean, first off, CJ was probably the most athletic kid I've ever seen in my life. I mean, literally, it was special. Called me Uncle Ryan. I mean, we were at the LSU football camp. I left work early, went over there to help him and just kind of hug his neck. And we were making plans for him to come stay at our house when he signed with LSU. He was going to live with us. And what I marveled about in that whole thing, and I still do, is and I got a picture I'll share with you when we finish up, but of how they've turned something that is so tragic into so many positive things in different aspects. And I know CJ is smiling. And the one that you really, really not worry, but think about is Ace, their youngest, who's an incredible kid in his own right, who lost his big brother, his idol, right? And so now his purpose, has changed a little bit. And so we just try our best to pour into him and remind about how awesome his brother was.
For those of you who don't know, CJ, 13, 14 years old, 14, thereabouts, four-wheeler
ATV, like
accident.
Yeah.
No longer with us, but his parents have been amazing beacons of strength.
Sure.
As you just talked about. Skip Bertman's still here.
Oh, gosh. He ain't going nowhere.
You've got an interesting perspective on Skip because you were part of his last national championship team and his last year ever at LSU. What was it like to those final years?
Yeah, I mean, going back to Little League and what made Skip so special and the LSU baseball program is something that, he would show up at our Little League games, like when I was 10. I'm not saying he was there to watch me. He just knew that there was good baseball going on at that park, and he would wear his LSU uniform and he would go sit in the stands. And he would watch, Kurt Ainsworth and Chad Durbin and all these great, Patrick Coogan and all the kids from Baton Rouge that were so good, Dave DeLucci. And he was scouting the Little League games because he understood how important having kids from Baton Rouge wearing the purple and gold was, how important that was in Omaha. Like, you needed that to win. So my first real interaction was that. I was 10. He was watching the 12-year-old games at Episcopal we called it the Squires League. And if you fast forward to my freshman year at LSU, he remembered those moments and actually told me the first time I saw you was I was actually scouting Chad Durbin, and you just so happened to be 3 years younger, and you were on the other team. Skip was so special in that regard, and it's a page that I think every college coach they can take that out of his book and learn from that, from a championship standpoint, the importance of having the local folks, that local flavor on your team. Because when push comes to shove in Omaha in the last inning, you're not playing for the name on the back of your jersey. You're playing for the name on the front of your jersey. So who better to have than a bunch of fellas that grew up watching that team win.
Well, and I don't want to talk very much about NIL, but those are the things that you are afraid to get lost.
Sure.
Doug Thompson was sitting right where you're sitting. We're talking about the Hold the Rope documentary and how they talk. The early guys, how they painted the fence and they cleaned the showers and they stood on the corner and handed out schedules to people and stuff and things that they're glad they did, and made them better people and appreciated things more. And these days, obviously, none of that stuff is taking place.
No, but you can still do some of that, and there's ways you can get creative and create the culture and that buy-in that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You can't do it the way they did it 20 or 30 years ago for sure, but you can still create that if it's important to you.
On Skip, do you have a motivational story or a way that he pushed your buttons one day to get the most out of you, or because
every day? I mean, he would challenge us. He challenged. He still does. When I talk to him now, it's questions that I know he's specifically asking to try to challenge me and push my buttons. And if you could handle it as a player, you would reach heights that you never thought you could. If you couldn't handle it as a player, you weren't supposed to be on the team. And you weren't going to help us win in Omaha. And so, it's been well documented, the motivational stories and speeches and folks that he would bring in. You could sit every one of his former players here, and they would tell you the same things. But, from my perspective, he wanted to know early on if in the bottom of the ninth inning in Omaha, if you were going to be able to get a big hit. And he had all kind of different ways of figuring that out, whether it be a 2-mile run or – playing an inter-squad game for 20 innings just to see who was going to quit, so he was just super, intentional on motivating guys and then really figuring out, okay, what 9 do I need to go get this trophy in Omaha?
Well, I think today a lot of people, they look at Skip, and obviously he may be the most popular person that's ever walked the campus there. His impact, and obviously Saban had a huge impact as well. But they just think 5 national championships, everything's hunky-dory, and, hey, look, you might have got your feelings hurt a few days.
Yeah.
And you suck it up and you move forward and you don't hit the transfer portal or call mom and dad, right?
I don't think anybody ever said what they say about the teams now about us. I don't think anybody said in 2000 when we won the College World Series that the team in Baton Rouge is the most talented team in the country. I don't think that was ever said. And I can remember playing other teams going, oh, geez, we're screwed. I'm 5'11" on a good day, and that guy's 6'3", runs like a deer playing shortstop for this.
Right.
He won with his guys, and got the most out of everybody he had. And we played for a bigger purpose, man.
Well, the last 2 national championships he won, like the Warren Morris home run, I remember watching that game and kind of feeling like, I think Miami's got a better team.
Yeah.
LSU just doesn't have enough to make it over the hill today, and things start happening, right? Mm-hmm. And then Stanford had you down 5-2 in the bottom of the 8th, and they bring in Justin Wayne.
Yep.
The 5th overall pick in the 2000 Major League Draft. So once again, here you are, little kid from Broadmoor, right? How are we going to win?
The guy that they started was better than him. Like when they took the guy out of the game that they started, I'm going, thank God, I don't have to face that dude again. I'm not getting a hit off of him. There's no way. It got to a point though. Honestly, Jacques, you're when you're playing for something bigger than yourself, man, it doesn't matter who's on the other side, because it's not you against him. It's this entire team and this fan base and these crazy folks in the stands and all that stuff, especially in Omaha. All that stuff matters. The fact that we pack out that stadium, every night is very important, and that gives that team such an advantage when you get to Omaha. Those crowds don't matter because they're used to it. You can't say that for all those teams, especially the West Coast teams or even the ones in Florida. They don't bring fans like we do.
Well, the UCLA Super Regional that same year, right?
Oh, we saw them crumble.
Yeah, I remember they came in. Oh, they got this guy pitcher, that guy pitcher.
Chase Utley playing second base. They were loaded.
And they got smashed in 2 games, right?
Spanked. Yeah.
The old box, the heat, the humidity, the ball flying out.
Yep.
They didn't have a chance.
Nope.
Skip's last year, I remember we had one soundbite with you. I think you said something like, we got guys painting their toenails in the dugout.
Yeah.
Things were changing.
Yeah.
The roster was changing. There was no transfer portal, so to speak, but certain guys were starting to come in that maybe didn't fit the classic fabric of what it had been in the past.
Yeah, it was, sometimes you get some great players and sometimes you don't that fit the culture. I mean, you can look back and go, when Brandon Larson came here from junior college, it couldn't have been a better fit for this team and the culture and who he was and the type of player he was when Brad Haupt came here or the list goes on and on and on. Most recently, Tommy Tanks, it's perfect. But that's not always the case. And that year, we had a really, couple of super talented players come in with Todd Linden and Zeph Zinsman, and I think there was a few others. But, man, sometimes it just doesn't work, and that's why, culturally it's so important. And at that point, Skip's – it's his last year, so he already knew it was his last year. So what are you going to do? I can remember going in his office that season just pissed off because I was the captain, and I'm like, okay, I got to do something, man. Like, what do I do? He's like, ooh, Rhino, it's okay. We're going to lose to Tulane in the Super Regional. You're going to have a great big league career. And I'm like, I'm just not accepting that.
Did he really say that?
100%.
Yeah.
And it happened, but he knew. I mean, he could feel it.
Yeah. Well, I remember, this is a bit melodramatic, but I remember, fans being like, those boys should be ashamed of themselves. The Skip's last team, they don't go to Omaha, Yeah. I mean, Tulane was loaded. Andy Canizero, might have heard of him. A lot of great players on that team.
Was it Michael Aubrey, hell of a player. I think he played in the big leagues. No, Tulane was loaded. Yeah.
Yeah. You won the Friday game. Mestapay pitched like 20 innings. Yeah. His arm's about to fall off.
Poor thing.
And then you lost the next two Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Do you remember, was he the same that day? Was he emotional? My last game, the Sunday game?
Man,
hard to remember.
Yeah, I don't exactly. At that point, there's so many emotions personally going on as well. I'm having to make a decision from a draft standpoint or come back and all that stuff. But I can just remember being super disappointed for the reasons that you just said, because it was his last year, and you want to go and you want to do something special. But there's nothing worse than going to Omaha and losing. I'd rather lose in the Super than go over there and lose there.
Did you let's see? So your first year was?
I've only been once and I've won.
Yeah, 99. Y'all didn't go. That was the Alabama Super.
Yeah, we got smoked.
Well, history is a predictor of the future. Sometimes LSU's never won a Super Regional on the road to go to Omaha. They've always had to win at home.
Wow.
Skip was 1-2. Won the one against UCLA. You guys lost at Bama and then Tulane. Mm-hmm. And then I'm trying to think. Well, Maneri lost his last one. They were at Tennessee, but I don't think LSU's ever won a Super on the road. Had to be at the box.
Yeah.
So that's why we make such a big deal about top 8 national seed and all that.
That's right. That's a big deal.
Smoke Lavelle was in the dugout Skip's last year. Learning, so forth. Mm-hmm. Smoke has forgotten more baseball than we'll ever know.
Sure.
But what do you think? He just wasn't – no one was going to be up to following Skip, right? But was it too much? I mean, he had a much different personality. He didn't have – Skip liked to public speak and do all that. That wasn't really Smoke's gig.
No, I don't think so. And that's really – I mean, there's not many that do that. Honestly, I mean, Skip is we're talking about the greatest to ever do it. So to expect that out of him, I think, is unfair.
Yeah.
But I can remember hearing whisperings and rumblings about how things were going to change and be different, and I can just remember thinking to myself, like, why would you change this? Why would you change what's been so successful for so long? But putting myself in Smoke's shoes, I think that's probably your only bet. I mean, it's the worst job in the world. The guy that follows Saban, the guy that follows Skip, the guy the guy at Duke that followed Krzyzewski, he's actually done okay.
Yeah. Somebody's going to have to follow Kim Mulkey down the street one day and coach the women's team.
It's tough, man.
Yeah.
That's tough. Unless it's, I don't know, unless you just go totally opposite, totally change the way. Like, I'm excited for the Saints this year because I think this is a totally different, I don't know if they're winning games, but it's a different mindset. It's a different philosophy. It's going to be a different thought on how to approach winning a football game. And I think that's your only bet. And then you've got to have some great players because at the end of the day, you're only as good as the dudes that are playing for you.
Well, Smoke's 5 years here at other places. They might erect a statue for you and name a stadium after you. I mean, he went to Omaha twice, Super Regional. It was just unfortunate they could never win a game in Omaha. Mm-hmm. And then by his 5th year, they missed the tournament altogether, which at LSU is a felony.
That's right.
You cannot miss the NCAA tournament. How many times has LSU missed the NCAA tournament, Ryan Theriot, since the year 1985?
3.
4. You were close. 1988, 2006, the end of Smoke. 2007, the beginning of Maneri, and then 2011 when they were on the bubble and they didn't quite get in.
Yeah, I remember that.
35 wins. So it hadn't happened too often. How do you reflect on Maneri's time at LSU? You know, you look at a 10-year stretch he had from 08 through 17. He won one national championship, came in second in another, bad luck. Eric Walker got hurt, right? Some other stuff. Went to Omaha 5 times during that stretch. In modern baseball, that's about as good as you can do, in my opinion. But like a lot of things, after year 10 or so, things can get maybe a little stale, and eventually a change was made there.
I think he did amazing. You know, I think that us from an alumni standpoint, you know, there's a lot of pride that goes into winning games and watching these guys play and hold a trophy up at the end of the year. And really or the kids doing the right things away from the field, are they making us proud? You know, both winning games, but also being good kids. And I can say that was definitely the case while he was here. I know Paul was super vigilant on making sure that not only were they great ball players, but they were also great human beings. And the stats that you just read off, man, yeah, that's awesome. He definitely didn't let the thing fall. And I think today you're kind of seeing the best of both of those from a Skip standpoint, and also Paul. Where Jay Johnson, you know, is to me the best you could ask for. There's not a better college baseball coach in America. He's a mixture. Jay has dove into Skip, talks to him more than anybody, and wants to learn how he did and what he did, and but also has a little bit of the Paul in him, where, you know, those kids are held to a super high standard. I still spend a lot of time with those kids out there and talk to them quite a bit when I can. And so I'm kind of privy to what he expects from them off the field as well, which is different than what Skip did. I mean, Skip was a little different in that regard. So Jay's a great mixture of both of the guys you just mentioned, but the work ethic is tireless. I mean, we can roll by the stadium at 10:30, 11 at night, and they don't have a game, and his truck is out there. And, like, he's out there or in the cage hitting with somebody by himself, where, you know, I love Coach Bertman, but he ain't doing that, you know.
Well, he sat there, and we were joking with Chris Blair and Doug Thompson last week. I think we said it was fake news, but he said Jay Johnson says, I sleep 6.5, 7 hours every night, and the players don't believe that. They think it's more like maybe 2 or 3.
Man, he's there. Yeah.
But, relentless worker, and grew up a fan of LSU.
Sure.
He's only, he's 47?
He's a year older than me, yeah. So he's
47. Those national championship teams, he was a kid like we were, watching Warren Morris hit the home run and all that stuff along the way. This team right now, as they're going to the SEC tournament, they're in a good spot.
Yeah.
Won 19 games in the league. They're number 1 in the country in the rankings. We know the rankings are not the same as the RPI, but then sometimes we don't know what the RPI means either. Beth Torino might have a few things to say about that. But what do you think about this team, where they're at right now?
I think we saw a little bump about midway through where there was a change made from the pitching standpoint that's helped these guys out tremendously. Guys are starting to settle into their role a little bit more. You know, you get Shores back in the bullpen, and he's a different guy. You know, I think that is probably the biggest shot in the arm was Shores getting to the pen. The young guys, Evans, who stepped up tremendously on the mound. Offensively, we know what they are and what they're going to do, but that doesn't win in Omaha. I mean, you're going to have some guys that are going to be able to throw up some zeros. You know, and so look, man, I think the pitching staff has done great. I think one more guy is going to have to step up. I don't quite know who that is yet. You know, Cowan seemed to slow down a touch. Hopefully, he can rest up a little bit and get his groove back going. But I think there's going to have to be one arm that we see throughout the regionals, super regionals in Omaha that we really weren't counting on, that's going to step up and you know, could be a William Schmidt, it could be Rizzi, that they can lean on for some innings.
Well, the third starter is always quirky. We were talking about that last week, too. I mean, even the second starter in 2023 when they won it all, Ty Floyd seemed to be kind of maybe petering out the fourth, fifth inning, and then he dials it up and is tremendous. And Thatcher Hurd was like, fans were like, can we trust this guy or not? And
he's the best pitcher on the planet.
Yeah, comes through when it had to happen. Austin Ross, I looked it up, 2009. He had a record of 6-8. I think his ERA was over 5.
Wow.
The third starter on the 09 championship team. So it always seems like, you don't have 3 Alex Langs lined up, right? Or Aaron Nola, excuse me.
Yeah. But this one's a little different because I think you have 2 guys that could be that 3. That I wouldn't worry whether it was Shores or Evans, honestly. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think both of them can take the ball, which is a good problem to have.
Well, in the NCAA regional, you need more pitching than a super, right? Because you got to win 3 in the regional. You only have to win 10 in the super.
Right.
So, best case scenario in a super, Kate Anderson and Ianson come out and K 15 guys apiece, and you blow out the other guys.
I've seen it happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then in a regional, stay out of that loser's bracket at all costs. Mm-hmm. But you have to pitch 3 in that case. So, good stuff. Anything else? Any other thoughts on the current Tigers and everything?
I think we've got the Curiel kid is as fun of a player to watch as I've seen in a while from a fan standpoint. He can truly do it all. We're watching a major leaguer early in his development, I believe. I remember watching Dylan at that age, and then Bregman. Some of the guys recently that have been such great players, and so I think he's that. So I want to appreciate him a little bit and really lock in, and I want to encourage everybody else to do that because you don't get guys like that very often. And then what a get with Daniel Dickinson. I mean, he's another one I think is a 10-year big leaguer. I mean, I really do. Mm-hmm. He is a hell of a player that I wasn't necessarily expecting. Now, you talked to Coach Jordan because I told him that same thing. He's like, what are you talking about? I knew he was going to do that. I'm like, okay. sure you did. But and then the guys that are playing great, obviously Fry and Jones and Braswell and so you Jake Brown. Jake Brown's got to play. Holy moly. I'm never taking him out of the lineup. I mean, he's another one. He is Brad Hawk made over again. Yeah.
That's the thing they've been kind of juggling is who to play in the outfield, right?
It's got to be Brown for me. I mean, Lord, this beautiful swing.
Yeah, he hit one out of the stadium in Columbia this past weekend. He stared that thing down, man.
It's serious. It's serious.
And then it's always great to have, and Josh Pearson, he's a unicorn.
Sure.
You don't have guys like that anymore who stay at the same school 4 years.
That's right.
And he's in and out of the lineup a little bit himself, but just that calm, they always talk about low heartbeat. Mm-hmm. And Josh Pearson's face doesn't really ever change, no matter if it's catching a ball to save the whole national championship or playing nobody's state in February. He's the same guy.
Yeah, man, and he's had some big hits over the course of his career. So yeah, man, he's done great.
All right, so how long have you been on the air with Moscona?
So first interview was 2010. Officially, like every day or every week, 2012, 2013.
Okay, so over a decade now.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm an ESPN radio staple, man.
Every Friday.
As long as Gordy.
Every Friday, right?
Every Friday, 4 to 6, ESPN radio. Mm-hmm.
During football season, you brought on some huge guests.
Yeah, that was fun. And Matt is now pissed at me because I've kind of dropped the ball a little bit on that.
This past football season?
The past couple, I haven't been very good. Admittedly. I mean, I've just been busy. Getting those guests is not easy, as you know. I mean, getting some of those big name guys is hard. I had to donate a lot of money to people's charities. That's how I got some of them.
Okay.
I found that was the way to do it. You go to their charity, write a check, and then they come on and do the thing. Or you like, hey, I'm considering donating to your charity. I'd love for you to come on my radio show.
Well, you're talking about a whole different galaxy of celebrity than what I deal with. I wanted to call and get through the day you guys had Darius Rucker on.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, lead singer of Hootie and the Blowfish, who then starts a country career and has, who could have ever predicted that,
He's
right?
Done great, yeah.
But Hootie's album, Crack Crack View Rear. What was the name of it? Anyway,
Yeah.
the debut album that they had sold 21 million albums.
Oh, wow.
21. And it's like, typically a smash is like 5.
Yeah.
Like I think Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet was 12. Born in the USA might have been, I don't know, 15 or something like that.
And this guy's
Nirvana.
like 21.
21 million off that, I don't want to be with you. And all the Time and all those hits off that first album. Then your next one sells 5 million and the record company's pissed. You know? What's your problem?
I mean, he's had a hell of a career, that guy. Reinvented himself, like you said, and I mean, he's done great.
Yeah.
And
Well-
and knows his sports now.
Well, I watched the interview with his manager, and he wanted to be an R&B guy first. And he said, that's not going to work. You're going to do country. And he's like, what? And I think the concept was he brought him around to radio stations playing an acoustic guitar. He'd play some Hootie songs, and he'd play some of his country songs, and it worked. Who are some of the other big names? Now, you know Eddie Vedder, Pearl Jam lead singer?
Yeah, now listen, I haven't talked to him in probably 6 or 7 years, but yeah, absolutely.
So you've hung out with Eddie Vedder.
He was the biggest Cubs fan on the planet. So that was kind of where that relationship
So he admired
started.
you.
Let's just say he admired me, yeah. Now, he would come through the clubhouse quite a bit when I was in Chicago. And so, yeah, I got to know Eddie, and he and Kerry Wood were really close. And so that's kind of where that relationship started. And there's a funny story where he was throwing out a first pitch one game, and I just so happened to be in front of the dugout warming up. And it was his wife and his daughter and Eddie, and he's holding his daughter, and he just gives me his daughter and it's like, here, hey, hold her for a second. So I'm sitting there holding his daughter while he's throwing out the first pitch in uniform, getting ready to play a game. Well, I've got a giant dip in my mouth, so I'm spitting. So later on that night, he texts me. He's like, hey, you a-hole. I said, what? He said, my daughter won't stop spitting in the house. So I guess she was sitting there watching me spit, but yeah, it's a funny story. That Chicago was great for that. There was always, celebrities and musicians and this and that coming through the clubhouse.
Bill Murray.
Yeah. Oh man, Bill Murray, huge Cubs guy. But then when I played for the Dodgers, same thing. I mean, it was that front row was always musicians and actors and actresses, and so that was one of the cooler parts of playing in the big leagues.
But Chicago's edgier, right?
Oh yeah, they're fans in Chicago.
Yeah, but not as friendly. Well, LA's maybe a little more nose in the air, but we're laid back and cool. Or...
They show up in the 3rd inning and they leave in the 7th in LA. That's the truth. So like beginning of the game, nobody's there.
Yeah.
3rd inning, James Carville is yelling at you to get an autograph for his son. Like true story. And then by the 7th inning, they're all gone, and they're at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And,
everyone's too cool to stay for 9 innings.
Come on,
there's no way
Yeah.
they would stay for the whole 9.
It's L.A., Jacques.
The Winters, how'd you deal with that in Chicago? I went to Chicago one time,
Yeah.
Saints NFC Championship game when they were 1 win away from the Super Bowl. Drew Brees' first year, Marcus Colston, Reggie Bush, they got beat, and I just couldn't believe, every day was just hell on earth, 15, 16 degrees, the wind out of the sky, the sun was nowhere to be found. I'm like, how did they do this?
We tried to stay 1 year. I wanted to go hunt in Wisconsin. I had like 2 or 3 trips set up. And, right outside the city of Chicago, they have monster deer. So I'm like, I'm going to hunt. Well, I have these hunts lined up, then we're going to go to Wisconsin. So I convinced Jonna from New Iberia to stay in Chicago that winter. And I walk out my house in a big giant front porch, and we were snowed in. Legit couldn't leave, snowed in. So I said, baby, I went and woke her up, said, hey, get up, pack your stuff. When this melts, we're out of here. I'm not doing this.
And that was it.
So every summer I was back here, man. I mean, every winter, excuse me. I was back in Baton Rouge.
Wow. Yeah. Great Cajun girl you married, right? And you take her up to Chicago, and we tried it, gave it
We tried.
It's not going to work out. Nah. All right, I wrote down 1 kick rocks
Okay, give it to me.
that I just want to bounce off you.
Okay.
It's something I've noticed lately, especially a certain Greek restaurant I go to the drive-thru.
Oh.
When I order something, and they ask me, sir, would you like utensils with that?
Yeah, what are we doing?
No, I'm going to eat this chicken shawarma with my hands today.
And the hummus.
And everything else.
I mean, oh my God.
So I don't know if it's a case of those little packets with the plastic fork and knife and spoon with the little
Salt and pepper.
Yeah. If they are able to save 50, 100 of those a day, does that make a big difference in their spending and their bottom line. But to me, just asking that, it kind of irritates me a little bit.
Awful.
Of course I want utensils.
Yeah, no, that's the dumbest question in the world. I wish you would have said the name of the place. I get why you haven't. But yeah, no, that's a good Kick Rocks. No doubt about it.
Do you have one for this week that you're working on with Scone, or today's only Tuesday?
Well, yeah, here's the thing. Friday at about noon is when I start preparing for 3 or 4. And I'll have a rotation of folks that I call and say, hey, what's pissing you off this week? and I'll use some of that stuff. And then, but I will have the letter that I write. Sometimes, I'll something will happen during the week. Like the Blue Bayou thing was easy. I mean, that's low hanging fruit. But no, I got to think about it. I don't have any just yet, but it shouldn't be too hard.
But the little bump or drop or whatever it's called, get on down the road and kick rocks.
That's Mac. Yeah. That's my partner at Traction, Mac Chiuili.
So that's not you that says that.
That's Mac Chiuili.
Oh, okay.
He used to always say kick rocks. That's where it came from.
I got you.
He was my trainer, CEO, founder of Traction, Mac Chiuili.
Yeah, he's the most interesting guy in the world. He does like a million different things.
He does everything. And so he used to always say kick rocks. And when Moscona and I would be working out at Traction, Mac would tell a story and he would say kick rocks in it. And so that's where that came from. That's his voice.
Well, I learned something new today. I thought that was you.
No, that's him.
So when people see you in public, is that the thing
get that
now?
A lot, yeah. And there, it's so funny too, man, because I can remember when I started with Moscona, he goes, there will be a day where people don't know that you played baseball. They will only know you from my show. I said, no chance. I was like, bro, I get it. You're good and you're big and all that, but that ain't happening. And Jacques, I'm telling you, I get the little kid that comes up to me and says kick rocks. They have no clue that I played baseball or any of that. They just know me purely from his show.
Yeah. Well, it's your second career.
Mm-hmm.
It's life in your late 40s now. Huh?
That's it.
What else was I going to ask you? Oh, yeah. You opened a snowball stand.
Yeah, years ago, that was a thing.
That like when you were trying to find out what you were going to do after playing baseball.
Well, yeah.
And you had one that the flavor was called Dirty Diaper. You remember that?
Yeah, that was disgusting. Sold out, though, man. I mean, we couldn't keep it on the shelf. It was a great idea, the snowball stand, because you had Traction and all the tournaments. And, I got 5,000 people at this thing every weekend. But what I didn't think about was, like, actually making the snowball. And, like, you have to hire people and they got to show up to work. And, so that was short-lived. Let me just say, what was the name of that thing? What did I call it? Oh, gosh.
The Dirty Diaper was like, it was a mix of like a chocolate flavor and milk or something?
Yeah, condensed milk, chocolate, condensed milk. They had some nuts in it for sure. Peanuts was on that. Yeah, no, it was a good one. It sold out, and we had some interesting flavors. Look, man, it was a great idea, the snowball thing. I don't know why it didn't work.
Honey, I had the best dessert today. Oh, yeah? What was it?
Yeah, from the toilet, screaming that to her.
Dirty Diaper. Dirty Diaper? Uh-huh. It had nuts in it. When you stopped playing, did you find, and we're wrapping up here, I appreciate your time.
All good.
When the fans go away and the lights, a lot of people have a hard time dealing with that.
Yeah.
How did you deal with, no longer being in the spotlight?
Yeah. When I retired, I mean, I was ready. There was I had plenty of offers, man, and could have continued to play, and then even after I retired, was still getting calls 2 or 3 years later to go coach and still be in the game, but I was ready to not do that anymore. Like I didn't want the spotlight anymore, and so that part of it wasn't difficult. What was difficult though was, when you're playing. Very similar to I'm sure what you do on a daily basis. You have your itinerary for when you go on air and the different things that you do, and you become a creature of habit. Well, I had done the same thing, really since high school, from a routine standpoint, and had the same goals and the same thoughts, and it was to get hits. I mean, I'm just trying to get hits and catch every ball that they hit to me. And so you do everything to do that. And so when you don't have to focus on that anymore, things get a little weird. And I mean, there was probably a 5 or 6 year period where, it was not easy. Traction provided a great landing spot, and a great opportunity for me to still get that locker room interaction, with all the great athletes that we've trained over there. But then that came to an end as well. And it's like, okay, now it's time for part 2. And so I can tell you this, I haven't set an alarm, since we started our construction journey, in 2019. I haven't set an alarm. I've been excited to go to the office, as I was when I played ball. And so it took me some time to find that little niche, but boy, we found it, and we're kicking butt.
I'm without a doubt a dork who can recall LSU football games and what happened and all that stuff, because they don't play that many of them.
Right.
You literally have played in so many games that you probably have zero recollection of. You play 162 games a year for 8 years.
Yeah.
My math's not good. I think that's about 1,000 games.
That's a lot of games.
That, on a Tuesday night, Wednesday night, here we go, on a plane, somewhere else, playing again.
50 in spring training every year, minor leagues. I mean, there's just, it's a lot of games.
Yeah,
a lot of at bats.
DeLucci would talk about that. Just say, this is ridiculous,
It turns into Groundhog Day for sure. It gets real repetitive, and if you don't have a good routine, it's virtually impossible to stick around.
All right, so plug for what you're doing now. It's Parrish Construction is your company?
Yep, Parrish Construction. Also T3 Industrial Solutions, which is one I'm really proud of and really locked in on at the moment. Parrish is doing great. T3 is doing great. So a lot of fun stuff going on, and just, man, kicking butt.
Toby Tomplay sings the jingle.
Toby's our guy for Parrish.
That's it.
That's him.
And I think, and hopefully I didn't get this wrong, but I think Toby one day called Cam Pyle and said, I just need you to yell, Parrish built, Parrish built.
Probably.
And he recorded that, and he put that in as well.
And that's it. Yeah.
Toby Tomplay sings After Further Review.
Yep.
We could do a story one day of all the local musicians and the jingles they sing. Like David St. Romain sings the GMFS, Changing Lives.
That's David?
Yeah. Pretty sure.
Okay.
Chris LeBlanc does your competition, that other roofing company.
We don't know.
We don't. Yeah, I won't name them. The heavier one, but the local musicians that you can catch at your local bar and restaurants. They're all the jingles they've done over the years.
Well, I'm partial to Toby. He's been great. He's done a few of them for us, and we actually have one with a Boosie theme that hasn't been released yet that I'm excited about.
This is where I want to finish. You just triggered something in my brain.
Boosie. All right.
So no, but the best ad. So did you get a truck? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did you lift it? Duh.
Who doesn't?
Where'd you get it? Alpha Customs. How do you? It was kind of like Beavis and Butthead, but like really low and no giggling and stuff. But it was a very impactful ad.
It worked, and now they're not even using it anymore. I'm like, what are you guys doing? We had a script, and they were trying to get ideas and all that. And Moscona was just reading it. I don't think he was trying to get a reaction from me. I think he was just reading it, and so I was like scrolling on my phone. He's like, got a truck? I'm like, yeah. Did you lift it? And then I figured what was going on. So I'm like, all right, I'll keep going. It just worked.
Duh.
Yeah, he's great, man.
Good stuff. Well, yeah, I think you said one time, if Matt pitches something, I believe that. Whatever he's talking about,
hey,
he is the ultimate, the readers and
his lives are unbelievable. He's passionate, does his research on the folks he works with, and look, he uses all the things that he works with. I mean, he's a client of theirs as well.
Well, and I'll say it. Look, I've had the opportunity to guest host his show a few times over the years, and when I'm done, I'm gassed. 3 hours on the air is a long time to try to concentrate and not sound stupid and articulate all your words. And to think he's got to come back and do it 4 more days that week, and then he's doing the morning scone, then he does something at night. He's got Drew to take care of and everything. I mean, it's amazing.
My boy's a machine.
Yeah,
we are Baton Rouge is very fortunate to have him for sure.
Yeah. All right, Ryan.
Thank
Ryan
you, man.
Theriot.
I appreciate it.
Great discussion. Thanks for stopping by, Jacques Talk. We'll see you later.